Welcome friends to the Salamandr's GT7 Let's Tune, where we pick a race to race, a car to car, and create the perfect setup. Our race today is one of GT7's weekly challenges for the week ending January 16th, 2025, Japanese front-engine, front-wheel drive Challenge 450 at Suzuka Circuit East Course. The car we'll be tuning today is the 1998 Honda Civic Type R. Stock performance point rating is approximately 439, which should allow for suspension and powertrain tuning up to 450 performance points. Surprisingly, its weight distribution is 67% front and 33% rear, which is a significant forward bias and hopefully will not affect our ability to create a nice neutral setup. The track today is Suzuka Circuit East Course, a 10-turn, 1.39-mile track in Suzuka, Japan. Today we'll be focusing on turn 2 as it's the most notable for tuning your setup for two reasons. First, while entering the turn you're braking hard and turning, which is a great way to test the car's stability under braking, and second, right before the apex there's a slight banking which creates a significant load on the suspension. This can use up all the suspension travel and cause heavy understeer. What you want to experience in this turn is consistent neutral balance during braking, coasting, and acceleration. The tuning parts we'll install first are fully customizable suspension, fully customizable limited slip differential, and fully customizable manual transmission. For the initial suspension setup, we'll set the body height adjustment to 85 both front and rear, which are the lowest values. We'll set the anti-roll bars to 5 on both front and rear, which are the middle values. We'll set the damping ratio compression to 20 both front and rear, which are the lowest values, and the damping ratio expansion to 30 both front and rear, which are also the lower values. We'll set the natural frequency to 1.45 both front and rear, which are limited by the lower values in the rear. We'll set negative camber angle to 0 both front and rear, and also toe angle to 0 both front and rear. Lastly, we'll set the differential initial torque, acceleration sensitivity, and braking sensitivity to 5 in the front and 0 in the back. Alright friends, kick it off!
Let's get tuning!
Today we'll start with the anti-roll bars and natural frequency. With the anti-roll bars set to 5, we experience major understeer in turn 2. We'll reduce the anti-roll bars until the handling is neutral. Setting the anti-roll bars to 3 results in much better handling. You get nice rotation off throttle. With that being said, there's still understeer in turn 2 when the suspension is loaded up. We'll try setting the anti-roll bar to 4 to see if we experience understeer. With the anti-roll bar set to 4, the car is not rotating as well and it feels very stable off throttle. We'll increase the spring rate a bit to see if we can get it back to neutral handling. Even though we just started the tuning process, it's clear that this is a pretty great car. We'll increase the natural frequency to 1.55 and see how that feels. I'm liking the way it rotates off throttle. I feel like I'm getting nice neutral handling. We should be able to drop the natural frequency a little bit. After experiencing more understeer in turn 2 while it's neutral throughout the rest of the track, I think it's best that we increase the anti-roll bars before reducing the natural frequency.
Clean race!
After increasing the anti-roll bar to 5, the front end is not really tucking in the way I want it to. We'll increase the natural frequency some more to get rid of this really heavy understeer. Also, we're topping out in 4th gear, so we'll increase the top speed for the transmission. With the natural frequency now set to 1.65, we get consistent neutral handling. We'll reduce the natural frequency a bit down until we get understeer again. We can use less brakes on some corners because the car is rotating so well. With the natural frequency set to 1.60, it feels good. We can reduce the natural frequency a little bit further. We're definitely getting close to the sweet spot. Whoops, just a little love tap. With the natural frequency set to 1.55, we get lots of understeer, so we've just gone a little bit too far and we'll have to come back. With the natural frequency set to 1.58, we're getting nice rotation again. Yeah, that's really nice. We'll bring it down just 1 point to see how that is. At 1.57, this is really nice. Let's try 1.56 and see if that's too much. 1.56 feels really good. I think this might be it. It's really excellent all around, braking, coasting, and on throttle. Next, we'll focus on the damping ratios, both compression and extension. We'll increase compression to 25 both front and rear, and extension to 35 both front and rear, and see how much shock we can apply without causing understeer. There's plenty of heavy understeer here. We'll have to drop it back down. With that being said, we are getting faster. With compression set to 23 front and rear and extension set to 33 front and rear, we're getting nice, consistent, neutral handling. We'll bump it up to 24 on compression and 34 on extension and see how that is. Now going through turn 2 is so smooth. With the compression set to 24, both front and rear, and extension set to 34, both front and rear. Throttle off rotation is good, throttle on rotation is good, front tucks in nicely in both scenarios and helps you keep a nice tight line, and the braking is very stable now. So for our final setup values, compression will be 24 both front and rear, and extension will be 34 for both front and rear. Now we'll set up negative camber. First, we'll bump the numbers up to 1.0 both front and rear, which result in heavy understeer. At this stage though, it's much easier to feel the difference between understeer and neutral handling with all the setup that we've done so far. We'll bump the negative camber down to 0.5 both front and rear, which feels really good, and it'll allow us to bump it up a little bit. Now at 0.8 front and rear, we're getting understeer on throttle. Bop, bop, bop. Alright, at 0.7 front and rear, we're getting some understeer again. I am not really liking this. Let's drop it down. Now with the setting at 0.6 front and rear, we're getting nice neutral handling. That feels a lot better. Getting nice rotation off throttle. Whoop, carried too much speed. This feels really good. Let's move on. Our setup values for negative camber is 0.6 front and rear. Now let's tune the toe angle. In the front, we'll start with 0.10 toe out, and in the rear, we'll start with 0.10 toe in. This feels pretty good. Let's bring it further up and see what happens. After bumping it up to 0.20 toe out in the front and 0.20 toe in the rear, we get massive understeer, so we'll bring it down. At 0.15 toe out in the front and 0.15 toe in the rear, we're getting some nice neutral handling. We get some great rotation. It feels pretty good. I think we can bump it up a little bit. At 0.18 front out and 0.18 in rear, we're getting understeer again. We're almost there. I am not vibing with this setup. Let's bring it down. With 0.17 toe out in the front and 0.17 toe in the rear, I think we've got a great setup. The car's rotating nicely on and off throttle. Yeah, this is beautiful. Now we'll tune the differential. First, we'll set the initial torque to 6 and acceleration to 6. Yep, understeer. Let's reduce the initial torque down to 5 and leave the acceleration at 6 and see how it goes. Yeah, this is nice. I think we can increase it. With the acceleration set to 7, this is even better. It's really nice on acceleration. It's pulling itself around the corner. We'll bring it up to 8 and see how that goes. Okay, with 8 it feels pretty good. I think we're going to try for 9. Okay, at 9 we're getting lots of understeer. The front end feels very much locked. Let's back it back down to 8. Now let's test the brakes. We'll get up to top speed and slam on the brakes and see if they lock up. Nope, they are not locking up, so we'll need to upgrade. We'll install sports brake pads and sports brakes and see how they perform. Yep, they perform great. Now that we've got the chassis all set up, we can add some power to try and get as close as we can to 450 performance points. First, I always love to add the racing muffler because it's loud. Second, we'll add the racing air filter, which gets us as close as we possibly can. Now that we've got the car fully prepped, let's do a race and see how it all works out. Alright friends, thanks for watching. Go have some fun with this awesome little car. Please like and subscribe and keep an eye on my Twitch schedule. If you join the live stream, you can choose our next car to tune. The Salamander out.